First contact's price. The quantum comm relay aboard the Ganymede Research Station pulsed with an urgent message that would forever change humanity's place in the cosmos. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at the data streaming across her holographic display, her dark eyes widening as she processed its implications. The signal was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, structured, precise, and definitely artificial. "Director Chung," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I think you need to see this." The station's director, Wei Chung, drifted across the low-gravity laboratory, his movements deliberate after 30 years in space. At 73, he was one of the oldest serving members of the United Earth Space Initiative, and he'd seen humanity push the boundaries of known space. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. "It's repeating on a 6-second cycle," Elena explained, pulling up the visualization. "The pattern suggests a language, but it's using quantum states we didn't even know were possible." Chang studied the display, his weathered features illuminated by the holographic light. "How far?" "The signal originated from the Proxima Centauri system," Elena replied. "But sir, there's something else. The quantum signature, it's not just communication. It's a drive wake." The implications hung heavy in the air. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe, and their neighbors had mastered technologies that Earth's brightest minds had only theorized about. What happened next would be debated in war colleges for centuries to come. The Vrix arrived without warning. Their ships, massive crystalline structures that seemed to defy conventional physics, emerged from quantum space directly above Earth's most distant research outpost. The facility, home to 300 of humanity's brightest minds, had been studying the possibilities of quantum communication. Director Chang was the first to recognize what the Vrix couldn't know, that humanity had been preparing for this moment for over 200 years. Since the first nuclear weapons were developed, Earth's nations had maintained a doctrine of appearing weaker than they truly were. This philosophy had been extended to the stars. As the Vrix ships approached, their intent became clear. They weren't here for diplomacy. "Initiate Protocol Omega," Chang commanded, his voice carrying the weight of generations of preparation. Throughout the station, hidden systems hummed to life. Quantum computers that had been disguised as basic research tools began uploading combat data. The station's seemingly primitive hull plating restructured itself at the molecular level. Elena watched in amazement as sections of the laboratory transformed, revealing weapon systems and defensive arrays that had been hidden in plain sight. "All these years," she whispered, "we were never just researchers. Humanity learned long ago." Chang explained as he activated his neural interface, connecting to the station's true command systems, that showing your full strength invites challenge. Better to be underestimated. The Vrix ships opened fire, their energy weapons designed to overwhelm what they perceived as primitive human defenses. Instead, their attacks encountered shields based on technology that Earth had kept hidden for decades. The station's true nature was revealed, not just a research facility, but a forward defense platform. But the Vrix were not easily deterred. Wave after wave of attacks hammered the station's defenses. Chang coordinated the response, the hidden weapons returning fire with precision that spoke of years of simulation and preparation. "Signal sent," Elena reported, her hands dancing across the quantum interface. "Earth knows we're under attack." Chang nodded grimly. The station's real purpose was being fulfilled, not just research, but first contact assessment. Now humanity would know exactly what they faced. The battle raged for hours. The station's defenses, advanced as they were designed to buy time, not achieve victory. One by one, the systems began to fail under the relentless Vrix assault. "Quantum core at critical," Elena announced, her voice tight with controlled fear. "We can't maintain the shields much longer." Chang looked at the young scientist, seeing in her the best of what humanity had to offer: brilliance, courage, and determination. "Initiate final protocol," he ordered. "Earth must know everything about their weapons, their tactics, their technology." The station's quantum core, its true purpose hidden until this moment, began a controlled overload. Every weapon impact, every energy signature, every detail of the Vrik's assault was being analyzed and transmitted back to Earth through channels the aliens couldn't detect. As the end approached, Chang gathered his crew for one final message. "Remember," he said, his voice carrying across the command channel, "we die not as victims, but as guardians. Earth will know what's coming. Earth will be ready." The Vrik's ships pressed their attack, confident in their superiority. They never detected the quantum pulse that carried terabytes of tactical data back to Earth. They never realized that this seemingly simple research station had fulfilled its true mission, to ensure that humanity's first contact with alien life, whether peaceful or hostile, would not find Earth unprepared. In the final moments, as the station's systems reached critical levels, Alina looked at her mentor. "Was it worth it?" she asked. Chang smiled, an expression of fierce pride. "They think they're destroying a research station," he said. "What they've actually done is give humanity everything we need to defeat them." The quantum core detonated in a carefully controlled reaction, taking with it all evidence of humanity's true technological level. To the Vriks, it would appear as a simple containment failure, the expected result of their attack on an inferior civilization. But across the vast distance to Earth, through channels the Vriks would never detect, the station's final transmission was received. In hidden facilities across the solar system, humanity's true military force began to awaken. The Vriks had made a fatal error. They had judged humanity by what they could see, never questioning why a species capable of quantum communication would appear to have such limited defenses. They were about to learn why humans had survived countless near-extinction events on their home world, why they had spread to the stars not through reckless expansion, but through careful, measured steps, why every human colony, every research station, every ship carried within it layers of hidden purpose and capability. The war was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The hidden arsenal. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Fleet Admiral Maya Patel stood before the assembled leadership of Earth's true military force. The holographic display before them showed the final moments of the Ganymede Research Station, each frame analyzed and reanalyzed by quantum computers that had spent decades preparing for this moment. "Director Chang and his crew gave us everything," she said, her voice carrying across the command center. "Complete tactical analysis of Vrik's weapons, shield frequencies, and ship configurations. More importantly, they proved our doctrine of strategic deception worked perfectly." The assembled commanders watched as simulations played out, showing how the Vriks' attack patterns revealed critical weaknesses in their own defenses. They had attacked with overwhelming force, never considering that their target might be gathering intelligence even as it died. "Operation Shadowfall is now active," Patel announced. "All hidden facilities initiate emergence protocols." Throughout the solar system, humanity's true military infrastructure began to reveal itself. Asteroid bases that had masqueraded as mining operations transformed into fortress factories. Gas giant refineries that appeared to process helium-3 unveiled massive shipyards. Beneath the ice of Europa, quantum forges that had been producing advanced weapons for decades increased to full capacity. In high orbit around Saturn, Commander Sarah Chen watched as her ship, the UES Hyperion, shed its civilian disguise. The vessel, officially registered as a deep space research platform, reconstructed itself at the molecular level. Quantum-locked armor flowed like liquid metal, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden within the ship's very structure. "All ships, report status," she ordered, her neural interface connecting her directly to the vessel's true combat systems. "Battle Group Prometheus, ready," came the first response, followed by dozens more. Each research fleet revealed itself as a fully armed battle group, their true nature hidden until this moment. At the Mars Command Center, Admiral Patel activated the main strategic display. Throughout the solar system, green lights indicated battle groups reporting ready status. Not hundreds of ships, but thousands. Each vessel incorporated technologies that humanity had developed in secret, tested in hidden facilities, and kept concealed from any possible observation. The Vrix believed they destroyed a defenseless research station. Patel addressed her commanders. Their next target will likely be the Europa colony. They expect to find another weak human outpost. A grim smile crossed her face. Instead, they're going to find out why humanity has survived every catastrophe our world has thrown at us. The tactical display shifted, showing the approaching Vrix fleet. Their ships, still confident in their superiority, were moving with minimal caution. They had no reason to suspect that the seemingly primitive humans could pose any real threat. Battle Group Athena, you have authorization to engage, Patel ordered. Show them what humanity's been hiding all these years. Commander Chen's battle group moved into position, their advanced stealth systems making them invisible to Vrix sensors. The human ships carried weapons that had been theorized centuries ago, but developed in absolute secrecy. Quantum disruptors that could unravel the fabric of space itself, gravitational lenses that could focus the power of solar flares into devastating beams, and swarms of self-replicating nanites that could adapt to any defense they encountered. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, Chen commanded. Remember your training. Everything we've done for the past 200 years has been preparation for this moment. The battle that followed would become legendary. The Vrix ships, caught completely by surprise, found themselves facing an enemy that had studied their every weakness. Human vessels seemed to predict their tactics before they executed them, countering strategies that had won the Vrix countless victories against other species. They're adapting, Chen reported, watching as the Vrix attempted to modify their shields against the quantum disruptors, just as Director Chang predicted. Let them, Patel replied. Every adaptation reveals more about their technology. We've spent generations preparing not just weapons, but strategies. Show them why humans are different from every other species they've encountered. The Hyperion led the assault, its weapons systematically dismantling Vrix defenses. The alien ships fought back with desperate fury, but they were facing an enemy that had spent centuries preparing specifically for this kind of battle. Every human vessel carried combat AIs that had run millions of simulations, analyzing every possible Vrix response. As the battle reached its climax, Admiral Patel transmitted a message on all frequencies, knowing the Vrix would intercept it. You judged us by what we showed you, never questioning why a species capable of quantum communication would appear to have such limited defenses. That was your first mistake. Your second was assuming that destroying a research station would break our spirit. Instead, you've given us unity of purpose. The Vrix fleet, those ships that survived the initial engagement, attempted to retreat. But they found their quantum drives ineffective, countered by technologies they hadn't known existed. The humans had not only prepared for this battle, they had prepared for every possible response. All ships, execute containment protocol, Chen ordered. Her battle group moved with perfect coordination, their formations creating overlapping fields of quantum disruption. The Vrix ships found themselves trapped, their advanced technology countered by defenses humanity had spent generations developing in secret. In the Mars Command Center, Admiral Patel watched as the battle unfolded exactly as their simulations had predicted. Send word to all colonies, she commanded. Operation Shadowfall is proceeding as planned. The next phase begins now. The human fleet moved with purpose, each ship part of a strategy whose centuries in the making. The Vrix were about to learn that they hadn't just attacked a single research station. They had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had spent generations preparing for this very moment. Operation Starcaller. Supreme Commander Zixtal of the Vrix Dominion stood aboard his flagship, the Crystal Throne, as reports of the devastating defeat reached him. His crystalline exoskeleton reflected the emergency lighting that pulsed through the command chamber, each flash a reminder of their unprecedented failure. Impossible, he chittered, his mandibles clicking in agitation. These humans were primitive. We saw their technology level ourselves. His strategic advisor, Carl, brought up a holographic display of the battle's aftermath. The humans deceived us, Supreme Commander. What we thought were research vessels and civilian installations were military assets of extraordinary sophistication. Our initial assessment was completely wrong. Before Zixtal could respond, new alerts flashed across the tactical displays. Throughout Vrix space, sensors detected quantum disturbances unlike anything they had ever encountered. The humans weren't just defending. They were launching a coordinated offensive. Aboard the UES Hyperion, Commander Chen watched as Operation Starkiller unfolded. Battle groups that had been hidden in deep space began their synchronized quantum jumps, emerging precisely where the simulations had predicted they would be needed. All ships, initiate Gordian Protocol, she commanded. The human fleet's formation shifted, creating complex geometric patterns that seemed to defy traditional space combat doctrine. Each vessel's quantum field synchronized with its neighbors, creating a cascade effect that rippled through space itself. Admiral Patel's voice came through the quantum comm. The Vrix expect us to fight like everyone else they've conquered, to rely on brute force and overwhelming numbers. Show them how humanity wages war. The human fleet's true innovation wasn't just in its hidden weapons or advanced technology. It was in how they used them. Ships moved in formations that created quantum resonance patterns, turning space itself into a weapon. Where the Vrix expected head-on attacks, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to bend reality around them. They're responding exactly as the simulations predicted, Chen reported, watching as the Vrix fleet attempted to counter their tactics. Their military doctrine is too rigid, too dependent on traditional warfare concepts. The human ships began their primary attack sequence, but instead of targeting Vrix vessels directly, they created overlapping fields of quantum disruption. Space itself became uncertain around the alien ships, their advanced sensors feeding them contradictory information. This is why we spent so much time studying quantum mechanics, Patel explained to her command staff. The Vrix, like most advanced species, rely heavily on quantum technology, but they never considered how it could be used against them. Throughout the battlefield, human vessels executed maneuvers that would have been impossible with conventional technology. Their quantum drives didn't just move them through space, they manipulated space itself. Where the Vrix expected to find weaknesses, they encountered carefully planned traps. In the Crystal Throne's command center, Zixtal watched in growing horror as his fleet's formations broke apart. How are they doing this? Their tactics make no sense. But they did make sense to humans. While other species had developed space combat based on traditional military doctrine, humans had approached it differently. They had asked questions no one else had thought to ask. Why fight in three-dimensional space when you could manipulate the dimensions themselves? Why treat quantum mechanics as just a power source when it could reshape the battlefield? Battle Group Prometheus. Execute Phase 3, Chen ordered. Her ships moved into their final attack positions, their formations creating a complex web of quantum fields. The trap was nearly complete. Aboard the Crystal Throne, Zixtal received reports of human ships appearing in supposedly impossible positions. Their quantum drives weren't just allowing them to move through space. They were creating localized areas where the normal rules of physics seemed to break down. All ships, full retreat, he ordered, but it was too late. The human fleet's quantum web had already enclosed his forces. Ships that attempted to escape found themselves moving in impossible directions, their advanced engines useless against the fundamental rewriting of spatial laws. Commander Chen opened a channel to the trapped Vrix fleet. You thought you understood warfare because you've conquered countless species, but you never encountered anyone who approached combat the way we do. Humans don't just adapt to the rules. We change them. The battle that followed wasn't just a demonstration of superior firepower. It was a complete reimagining of how space combat could be conducted. Human ships moved in ways that defied conventional tactical analysis, their formations creating cascading effects that turned the Vrix's own technology against them. In the Mars Command Center, Admiral Patel watched as Operation Starkiller achieved its primary objective. The Vrix fleet, considered one of the most powerful military forces in known space, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy they had gravely underestimated. "Send word to all battle groups," she ordered. "Phase 3 is complete. Begin preparations for Phase 4. The Vrix are about to learn that losing their fleet isn't even the worst part of their miscalculation." The adaptive edge. On the fringes of Vrix space, Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum consciousness stirred within the UES Hyperion systems. She hadn't died with the Ganymede research station. The quantum upload protocol had transferred her consciousness seconds before the station's destruction, preserving not just her mind, but everything she had learned about the Vrix. "Commander Chen," Elena's voice emerged from the ship's quantum core. "I've completed my analysis of their latest tactical adaptations. The Vrix are learning, but they're learning like machines, predictably, systematically. We can use that against them." Chen smiled. The Vrix hadn't just underestimated human military capability. They'd underestimated human ingenuity. While they'd destroyed what they thought was a research station, they'd actually given humanity its greatest advantage: direct observation of Vrix combat doctrine. "Show me," Chen commanded, her neural interface connecting directly with Elena's quantum consciousness. The tactical display transformed, showing how the Vrix fleet's responses followed distinct patterns. Each adaptation, each tactical shift, adhered to rigid protocols developed over millennia of warfare. They were efficient, powerful, and utterly predictable to a species that had spent centuries studying how to think differently. "Their entire civilization is built on crystalline computing," Elena explained, her consciousness flowing through the ship's systems. "They think in straight lines, in rigid structures. But humans, we think in curves, in chaos, in possibilities they can't even imagine." Admiral Patel's voice cut through the quantum comm. "All ships, initiate metamorphosis protocol. Show them what happens when humanity really starts to adapt." Throughout the human fleet, quantum-linked AI systems began implementing changes based on Elena's analysis. Ships modified their weapon frequencies in seemingly random patterns, but each change was precisely calculated to exploit the predictable nature of Vrix responses. The Vrix fleet, already struggling against human quantum warfare tactics, found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to evolve with each passing moment. Every time they adapted their defenses, human weapons shifted to exploit new weaknesses they hadn't even realized they had. Supreme Commander Zixtal watched in growing despair as his forces carefully developed combat protocols, failed one after another. "How?" he demanded. "How are they countering strategies we've perfected over thousands of years?" The answer was simple, though the Vrix couldn't comprehend it. Humans had never tried to perfect their strategies. They had instead perfected their ability to change them. "Battle Group Artemis, execute attack pattern Sigma," Chen ordered. Her ships moved in what appeared to be completely random formations, their quantum drives creating interference patterns that seemed to make no tactical sense until the trap closed. Vrix ships found their crystalline computing cores struggling to process the chaotic quantum fluctuations around them. Their rigid tactical protocols, unable to adapt to the seemingly random human attacks, began to break down. "They're trying to establish new combat formations," Elena reported, her consciousness analyzing the Vrix response in real time. "But they can only choose from pre-existing protocols. They can't create new ones fast enough." Chen nodded. "That's the difference between their adaptation and ours. They modify existing patterns. We create entirely new ones." The battle transformed into a demonstration of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to embrace chaos and turn it into advantage. Human ships executed maneuvers that appeared suicidal until the moment they worked perfectly. Each tactic was used once and then discarded, replaced by something completely new before the Vrix could adapt. "All ships, implement Elena's latest quantum algorithms," Chen commanded. The human fleet's weapon systems reconfigured themselves, their energy signatures shifting in ways that made them almost impossible to predict or counter. In the Mars Command Center, Admiral Patel watched as the tactical display showed Vrik's ships falling into disarray. Their rigid command structure, faced with an enemy that seemed to rewrite its own tactical doctrine every few minutes, was beginning to collapse. "This is humanity's true strength," she transmitted to all commands. "Not our weapons, not our technology, but our ability to look at everything we know and ask, what if we did it differently?" Elena's quantum consciousness spread through the fleet's networks, analyzing and implementing new tactics faster than organic minds could conceive them. The Vriks found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to have a million different battle strategies and was willing to use each one only once. "They're breaking," Chen reported, watching as the once mighty Vrik's fleet began to scatter. "Their command structure can't handle this level of tactical chaos." But victory wasn't enough. Humanity had learned long ago that winning a battle was meaningless if you didn't learn from it. As the Vrik's fleet retreated in disarray, Elena's consciousness catalogued every response, every adaptation, every weakness they had revealed. "Send the data to all battle groups," Patel ordered. "Every ship, every commander needs to understand what we've learned here. The next phase isn't just about defeating the Vriks. It's about showing the galaxy why humanity's approach to warfare changes everything." Dawn of a new era. The Crystal Throne, once the pride of the Vriks' dominion, drifted powerless in space. Supreme Commander Zixtal stood in his darkened command center, watching as human ships surrounded his vessel. The quantum fields they generated had transformed space itself into a prison from which there was no escape. "Supreme Commander," Commander Chen's voice echoed through the chamber. "Your fleet is defeated. Your empire's military doctrine has failed. But we're not here to destroy you." The main viewing screen activated, showing not just Chen, but Admiral Patel and a glowing quantum matrix that somehow held Dr. Elena Rodriguez's consciousness. The human leaders faced their defeated enemy not with triumph, but with determination. "You attacked us because you thought we were weak," Patel began. "Because we showed you what you expected to see. A young species taking its first steps into the galaxy. But humanity learned long ago that true strength isn't about showing power. It's about understanding when not to show it." Elena's quantum form shimmered as she spoke. "Your civilization is built on crystalline computing, on patterns and predictability. You saw our apparent technological level and made assumptions based on your own linear development. But humans don't develop linearly. We adapt, we hide, we prepare." Zixtal's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Why reveal this now? Why not simply destroy us when you had the chance?" Chen smiled. "Because destruction isn't our goal. Change is." Throughout Vrik's space, human ships were already implementing the next phase of their strategy. But instead of weapons, they deployed quantum communication arrays, broadcasting a message to every world in the Dominion. "For millennia, your empire has expanded through force," Patel explained. "You encountered new species and gave them a choice: submit or be destroyed. We're offering a different choice: evolution." The quantum arrays activated, sharing carefully selected data about human history, not just their victories, but their failures, their disasters, their near extinctions, and more importantly, how they had learned from each one. "Your empire is stagnant," Elena's quantum consciousness explained. "You've spent thousands of years perfecting what you already know instead of imagining what could be. But the galaxy is too vast, too complex for any one approach to remain viable forever. On thousands of Vrik's worlds, the data sparked something that hadn't existed in their civilization for millennia. Uncertainty, questions, the possibility of change. We could have destroyed your fleet," Chen continued. "We could have dismantled your empire world by world. Instead, we're offering you something far more valuable, a chance to learn what humanity learned long ago. True strength isn't about power, it's about adaptation." In the Mars Command Center, Admiral Patel watched as reports came in from across Vrik's space. Their rigid society, faced with irrefutable evidence of its own limitations, was beginning to transform. The crystalline computing cores that formed the backbone of their civilization were being reprogrammed not by force, but by choice. Your empire stands at a crossroads, Patil addressed the Supreme Commander. You can cling to the old ways and face extinction, or you can do what humanity has always done. Adapt, evolve, imagine new possibilities. Zixtal studied the humans before him, his compound eyes reflecting the quantum display. And if we choose to adapt, what then? Then you'll find that humanity makes a far better ally than enemy, Chen replied. We've spent centuries preparing for war, yes, but we've spent even longer dreaming of peace, not the peace of dominance, but the peace of mutual understanding and growth. Throughout the galaxy, other civilizations watched as the mighty Vrix dominion transformed. The species that had conquered countless worlds through force was learning a new way, the human way, not through rigid protocols or overwhelming power, but through endless adaptation and possibility. This is humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Alina's consciousness resonated through quantum space. Not our weapons or our tactics, but our understanding that the only constant in the universe is change itself. The war that had begun with the destruction of a research station ended not with the fall of an empire, but with its rebirth. The Vrix, guided by human insight, began to reshape their civilization. Their crystalline computing cores, once limited to rigid patterns, learned to process chaos and possibility. In the decades that followed, the galaxy would witness something unprecedented, an empire transforming itself from within. The Vrix didn't just adopt human technology, they embraced the human approach to existence itself. Their worlds became centers of innovation rather than stagnation, of creativity rather than conformity, and humanity. They revealed more of their true capabilities, but never all of them. They had learned their lesson well. True strength lies not in the power you show, but in your capacity to adapt to whatever the universe throws at you next. Admiral Patil stood in the observation deck of Mars Command, watching as ships from a dozen species, including the transformed Vrix, gathered for the first Galactic Council of Adaptation. Earth's long vigil of preparation and hiding was over, but its tradition of careful foresight would continue. Ready for what comes next? Chen asked, joining her at the window. Patil smiled. We're human. We're always ready for what comes next, even if we have to imagine it ourselves. In quantum space, Alina's consciousness pulsed with agreement. Humanity had changed the galaxy not through force of arms, but through force of imagination. And that, perhaps, was the greatest victory of all.